In this video, we're going to take a look at creating IK handles. IK handles, or inverse kinematic handles, allow us to control a joint skeleton from its end effector or end joint back to the root. Now in Maya, we have several different types of IK handles that we can create and use. I'm only going to take a look at two, and these are two that are used most commonly. And to demonstrate them, I'm just going to switch here to the side view, and let's create a very simple joint chain. So I'm going to go to Joint Tool, open the tool options. I'm going to reset my tool just to make sure that we have nothing extra turned on there. And I'll draw out a simple leg-like skeleton, and we'll hit Enter. And now to add the IK handle to this skeleton, I'll go to Skeleton, IK Handle Tool. I'm going to open the tool options here and reset the tool, and we can change the different type of IK handle by altering the solver that is used. Right here we have the single chain solver, and this is going to be the first one that we're going to create. So my options there are all set. I'll just close that window, come back, and to add my IK handle, I'm going to click on the root, and then click on the last joint that I want to be affected by the IK handle. In this particular case, I want to just manipulate the leg. So therefore, I'm not going to include the foot, and I'll just go down to the end effector or last joint in the leg, which is going to basically be the ankle joint, and we'll click there. And the handle is created. Now when I hit W and grab the Move tool, I can grab that IK handle and move it around, and you can see that it affects the entire skeleton and allows us to animate or move our joint very realistically without having to actually grab those individual joints and rotate them. The handle performs all of those operations for us. Now let's create another joint skeleton here, and we'll create a very similar leg-like skeleton. And go back to our IK handle tool options. And this time we'll change the solver. Instead of single chain solver, we'll change that to rotate plane solver. And we'll again go back. The setup is exactly the same. We don't need to do anything extra here other than click the root and then click the last joint. And that adds our rotate plane solver. And if I grab that, you can see that it moves just like the single chain solver. So what are the major differences here? Well, if I go back to a perspective view, we can kind of take a look here and see. First thing that you might notice is that the IK handle is rotated or in line with the joint that it is attached to. When you look at the rotate plane handle, that IK handle is aligned to the root of the skeleton. You can see its orientation there, going straight up back to the root. Also, on the rotate plane, there is an additional graphic that we get up there at the top. So it's very easy to see I have two different types of IK handles here. Let's take a look first at the single chain handle. Now we know when we translate these, they both move the same, but if I choose rotate, and rotate my single chain, it actually will rotate the entire leg about that handle. If I grab the rotate plane handle and try and rotate this, nothing happens. Instead, with the rotate plane handle, we get this extra manipulator that we would use to rotate that joint skeleton. When I hit T on the keyboard, we get an extra manipulator that then allows us to translate as opposed to rotate to move our skeleton or to rotate that skeleton. This is useful because now instead of doing rotate values, we're doing translation values. That means that I can also take this, constrain it to something else, and use that as an additional handle to move something like this on a character's leg to rotate that knee, for instance. Whereas the single plane IK handle, or the single chain IK handle, does not give you that extra manipulator. So what you see is what you get. You cannot attach anything extra. The rotate plane handle IK is more advanced. It offers some extra functionality there for us. Let's see this in practice. And I'm going to open our crow scene. And for our crow, I'm just going to add an SC handle to our character's leg. Let's zoom up here. And we'll go to Skeleton, IK handle tool, and we'll open those options. And I'll just hit reset, and that's going to bring me back to my single chain solver. And I'll go to the character and click on the first joint, and then we'll click on the last joint. Now I have a single chain handle on there, and I can grab that and move it, which will in turn allow me to move my character's leg. The leg on our crow is very simple, so I really don't need the extra functionality that a rotate plane handle would offer me in this particular situation. Now, the rest of the character, we could add a few more IK handles across the character, but we don't always need them. Sometimes they can just be overkill, especially for some of our more simple components. Now, another spot that I would want to avoid would be the body. Adding an IK handle to the root of our character usually doesn't work out. And I'll just demonstrate that here real quick. We'll add IK, and we'll go ahead and we'll stick with our SC solver. And I'll click the root, then we'll just come up here to the neck area. And now when I grab it and try to move it around, you can see that we get some really kind of strange results where our bird is just never going to move this way. So we'll just undo that there. Now, another feature on our IK handle, we would access through the attribute editor. And we'll scroll down. And I'm going to go down and just expand some of these windows here. So we have under the IK handle attributes, we have this option here for Snap Enable. And I'm going to show you what that does. We'll click on the handle itself, and I'll go to move it. And when I move it, if I take it and move it beyond what it's capable of moving, you'll see that it actually gives me that extra line there and extends the IK handle. But when I let go, it'll snap back to the character's position, or to the character's end effector position that we added the IK handle to. If I turn Snap Enable off and then grab that handle again and move it and let go, it'll stay locked out here. Now, this will have impact when we're actually animating or adding keyframes. If I leave it out here, then I'll have to animate it back up here in order to get the leg to bend. So that can kind of be a little annoying. Sometimes we want it, sometimes we don't. But by default, that Snap Enabled is turned on. And that's pretty much how we leave it. Again, there are other circumstances that we might turn that off.